And Paul's reply was, I wish that all of you would be at that almost place, and not only that, but to actually fulfill that which was spoken, that you would actually come to repentance, come to a knowledge of God, and your lives would be changed. And then we begin to look at Paul defending himself before Felix. So Felix was there, and while this plot was going on, so at Jerusalem, there was a plot that was discovered, like I said, by 40 men who conspired against Paul to kill him. The captain Claudius was there, wrote a letter to the governor Felix, and sent Paul to Felix. All right. Felix sent to Jerusalem for the accusers of Paul, and after 5 days they arrived in Caesarea. The accusation that was against Paul was this. It says, Ananias took the elders and a certain orator named Tertullus with him from Caesarea was there. Tertullus was to be the spokesman, and the name of Tertullus was meant triple hardened, and certainly it could typify the condition of Israel. So at that point, Israel's hearts, the people in Israel their hearts were really hardened. After paying due courtesy and flattery about the nobility of the noble Felix, Tertullus presents an accusation against Paul. And it must be remembered that the Jews hated Felix like poison, alright? The Jews did not like Felix at all. The charges against Paul were as present. So Paul was a pestilent fellow. He was a mover of sedition among the Jews throughout the world. He was a ringleader of the Nazarenes, and he was also profaned in the temple. All of Paul's accusers affirmed the things that Tertullus had said about Paul. Alright, but Paul's personal defence was this, is that Paul stated that his accusers could not prove any of the things that were being said, although he did confess that he worshipped God after the way that they thought was heresy. Paul stated a list of things. He believed all things which are written within the law and the prophets. He had hope in God concerning the resurrection of the just and the unjust. He kept a clear conscience towards God and man. He brought alms to his nation. He only entered into the temple to worship. So there was an accusation that Paul was entering into the temple to cause up a stirring, to also affect what was going on in there. Also here, he caused no tumult, so he didn't actually cause anything that was there within the temple. He was confident that no evil could be found in him by any or by all of his accusers that was there. We see after these charges that were put against him and in Paul's defence that Paul is still left bound. Felix dismisses the case, promising to hear the matter again after Lysias should come down. He put off judgment until later, just as he did his own soul's salvation as well. He put off the judgment till later. He hoped that he might be able to receive money as a bribe for Paul to be set free, and obviously we find that this was not the case when it came down to it. Paul was placed in the keeping of the centurion and was given liberty. His acquaintances were allowed to visit and minister to him. He was left as a prisoner for 2 full years. So, in turn with Paul having a desire to go to Jerusalem and minister to people there, we find that everything that people were warning him to go, saying if you go into this city, this is what's going to happen, Paul refused. He says, I need to go there, I need to share the gospel. And as he was there, we know that this had happened. He was put in prison. Imagine being in prison for 2 years after all your friends telling you, don't go, don't go. But Paul says, I need to go there that people would hear the gospel message. Being able to actually respond to that, in a sense, knowing that, you might not even have the best outcome for sharing the gospel, but having that desire to say no matter what, even if I was to die for the gospel, I'm willing to do it. He laid everything on the line so that he could die for the gospel, and now because of his great faith and admiration to go to Jerusalem, God was setting him up in the midst of rulers and kings who was there. During this period of time, Felix often heard Paul. One accusation was when his wife Drusilla was there, a Jewess, was present. Paul reasoned of the righteousness, temperance and judgment to come. Felix was known to be unrighteous, to have an unrighteous rule, and his utter lack of temperance in his personal life The governor was violently shaken by the words of Paul, but he only procrastinated on what Paul was saying, and he said, I'll reason and I'll think about what you're saying, and I'll come to a conclusion later, and kind of brushed Paul off and sent Paul away. The term of Felix expired with him, still making no decision concerning his soul's salvation of Paul. And that was kind of like the people who was there. God was opening up the door continually for Paul to share a testimony, to share the word that God had given him, to also be a defence and to be a light against those who were accusing him falsely, but yet the people's hearts were still hardened. They were not willing to receive what God had for them there in that place. And then later on we begin to look at how Paul would defend himself before Festus and before Agrippa as well, and later on having a desire to minister there in Rome as well. I'm going to just finish early for this class today. Do you have any questions or anything regarding anything that we've talked about? Nope. Alright, well, God bless you. I'll send over the requirements for the homework assignments so that you can all be in one mind and one accord. Comes to this homework, and hopefully by next month I'll have all the homework and stuff in and I can send your test papers out to you, alright? God bless you and thanks for your time.